Welcome back to another edition of Just Talking with Joe Burdick. I'm really excited to introduce my next guest. He's an actor, a comedian, a magician, a foodie, a world traveler, and we all know who this guy is. Chris Williams, welcome to my little podcast. Thanks for coming on with me. How's it going?
What's going on, Joe?
So everybody,
you've been trying to coordinate this for a while, so I'm glad that we finally figured it out, and we're good to go.
Oh man, I tell you what, once I started this little podcast thing, I tried to figure out all the people with the cool stories or people that I want to reach out to, see if they say yes. And you were first on my list, man. And when I reached out to you, one of the things I love about you, Chris, I'm going to give a little love before we even start talking. Your Instagram is so entertaining and you are so engaging. I don't know. I'm assuming it's not just with me, but you respond to things. I see you looking at things, and I love that. So when, I love dodgeball. For anybody watching this, you've seen him in dodgeball. But I had to reach out to you, and you've just been so cool. And thank you again for doing this.
Of course, Joe. Of course. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah. So let's get right into it, man. I know you're from New York.
Yep.
What was young Chris like before you got into business?
What was the crank? Well, I grew up in Westchester, New York, which is about 45 minutes outside the city and outside New York City. Mm-hmm. So it's not upstate. I have an issue with people saying it's upstate New York. If I can get to Times Square in 45 minutes, Buffalo is upstate. Syracuse is upstate. Anyway, it's my little beef. Yeah, but it is anything north of the Bronx is upstate considered. So yeah, I grew up there. Spent my my youth there, and with my mom and my sister and my dad, and they were both music teachers, and we were required to take musical instruments all the way through high school. I played the oboe and the saxophone. I was a Boy Scout. I was rebellious, so I did not get my Eagle Scout. I got up to Life Scout, and I said, you know what? And I had my Eagle Scout project. I was like, you know what? No, I don't want to get my Eagles. My dad said I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. Well, I can't say that I'm an Eagle Scout, but I did my first play. I was in when I knew I liked acting was in nursery school when I played a mop that got married to a Raggedy Ann doll. And I was like, oh, you can get women like, oh, all right. Yeah, I'll do this. Yeah. So that was my first play, and I did plays all growing up. And then I went to Georgetown in DC for college. I was a psych major and a cheerleader for the football and basketball teams because I was going to be yelling and screaming anyway at the team. So I might as well, put a woman on my hand while I'm doing it. And then I came out to LA right after I graduated, and I've been here ever since. I've been here temporarily for 35 years. So
temporarily.
Yeah. Any decade I'll move back to New York or move someplace else. So, I've been here ever since. And then I took about 5-6 years before I started professionally acting. Because, all my friends growing up who were, from college, they went to law school, biz school, or, and I was going to go to law school. My mom wanted me to be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. So I was going to go to law school, and I applied, and I was like, well, let me just defer a year. And I just stayed out here. My sister was out here at the time too. My sister's Vanessa, and she was out here at the time. So I got to stay with her for a little bit. And then I made my own way here. And I was 25 when I started professionally acting. So I did a play, and a lot of people who were working in the play were professional, and they said, are you going to do this or not? And I'm like, well, I better, if I'm going to do it, I better get to it, because they didn't want to be poor, because actors are poor, basically. Right. You start out, and there's no linear path to success in acting and any kind of showbiz, just because, like, if you want to be a lawyer, you go to college, law school, you take the bar, you pass, and you're a lawyer. Doctor, med school. As an actor, you can come in from any kind of different angle you can, and there's no guarantee that you're going to be whatever it is. And A lot of it is luck. A lot of it is right place, right time. And it's not who you know, it's if who you know knows you. So,
Right.
yeah, I started acting when I was about 25, and it's been a long, interesting career, so to speak.
You've had a really long career. Your resume is I mean, we've all seen your stuff. So that's
Yeah, I've had a lot of like small things. People are like, "Oh, you were in that?" I've been in a lot of shows, a lot of TV shows,
mhm.
and some. I'm known for, I would say, first, Crazy Eyes Killer from Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's what
Mhm.
I'm recognized for the most, I would say. Second, Dodgeball. I was in Dodgeball, and we just had our 20th anniversary of Dodgeball, and then Black and Mexican people, Friday After Next.
Hmm.
I get a lot of Friday After Next. Occasionally, I'll get something else, but those are the top. I would say the top three that I get recognized for the most.
Well, I tell you what, the top two are my all time favorite, man. I mean, we'll talk about that in a little bit, especially Crazy Eyes. But Vanessa, for all right. So anybody watching this that doesn't realize by now, your sister Vanessa won Miss America.
Yeah,
So what was that like for the family? Yeah,
well, it was it
did
was
you have to
tough.
bulk up to start, beating up
That's
guys
well,
or?
that's what I said. I said, well, when she won, first of all, I knew she was going to win because she's uber talented. But there's always sibling rivalry going on growing up, and like she was middle school president, so I became middle school president, and then she was in the theater, and then I was in the theater, and she was 4 years ahead of me, so it was just enough to leave a blazed trail that I was trying to step into. And then she won Miss America, and I'm like, I have to lift weights now? Like what do I have to miss? So uh and yeah, so it was a big time for the whole family, and I was a junior in high school when everything went down. So it was hard for me, my formative years, because if I was a teenager, small pimply faced teenager, and back then we didn't have cell phones. We had one phone, so every single phone call was from my sister, or I didn't get any phone any phone calls because on a regular phone it was either busy or um and yeah, so it was tough growing up. It was tough growing up. She casts a very large shadow, but I try to fight my way, get my own little spotlight here and there.
Yeah, I think you succeeded. That's pretty awesome though. Um, so what was Georgetown like? Now, as a kid, I watched a lot of college basketball and I love Patrick Ewing. So that was really he's probably the only Hoya that I could actually name. But I used to love watching college
Allen
basketball.
Iverson, dude. Allen
Allen
Iverson.
Iverson. There you go. That's right. I forgot. I just always remember Patrick Ewing, how he always wore those t-shirts under his shirt. And I thought,
Right.
that's a cool look. I like that.
Exactly. Well, I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, believe it or not. That was what
Mhm.
I wanted to be, ESPN sports broadcasting, because I'm obsessed with sports. I love sports. And I got into Syracuse University, which is Newhouse Communications School, is one of the tops in the country. But my sister went to Syracuse. And, I said, I can't do another 4 years of being my sister's brother at Syracuse. So I did a 180 and went to Georgetown, which was a good liberal arts school. It was in Washington, D.C., which was a great place to go to school. There's four other, American, George Washington, Catholic, and Howard were all there.
Mhm.
So it's a great place to go to school. It was still only, 5-hour drive from home. And it wasn't cold. There's not a lot of snow because Syracuse had some snow. So I loved it. It was a liberal arts school, and I didn't know exactly what I would do. But if I got a basic education, my parents are both educators with their masters, and so they made sure that we went to school. We went to school, and yeah, so Georgetown, and it was a really nice experience because it gave me a breadth of knowledge, so to speak, because you were required to take like a year of theology and a year of philosophy and you had to have a language as a requirement. So there was a lot of um, nice liberal arts touches to the university and the curriculum. And I was a psychology major. I mean, I love psychology, and I love, trying to figure out why I would want to be an actor. So, yeah. And then I was lucky. Fortunate my junior year, they had a great program, and I got to study abroad in Florence, Italy. And that's where I fell in love with Italy and Florence, and I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with Italy. If you can tell by my Instagram,
I can, yeah.
I am obsessed with Italy. And I was there for 2 months last year, and two weeks this spring, and I'm planning on going there in September, October to figure out what area I'd like to live in, because I'm trying to make a transition to move to Italy.
Wow. Now, I'm assuming you've been to Turin.
I have not been to Turin.
To see the Shroud.
The Shroud? No, I've not been there yet. Italy is a big place. I just got to this last fall. Finally got to see Puglia, a lot of Puglia, which is on the heel of the boot. And I've been to Como and Venice multiple times, and Milano, and I have yet to do Naples and Sardinia. I was in Sardinia for 7 weeks, and that is a magical place. It is a magical place, Sardinia, and I will have a place there at one point in my life, because it's the island. Italian people are wonderful people. So, and they consider themselves Italian, but it's an island. They consider themselves their own type of their own type of Italian. And I have never been so embraced. A friend of mine is from there, and we had a strike, the actor strike, last year for about 6 months.
Right.
So while I'm not doing anything, she's like, "I'm going back for my mom's birthday. You should come back. You should see," because I always talk about Italy with her, and she was like, "Oh, but you don't know Sardinia." I was like, okay. She's like, "No, you need to see Sardinia." So I was like, "Great." So we flew back, and she was there for a week and a half, and then set me up I got an apartment. I got introduced to her family, to her friends, and I spent the next 7 weeks in this little town of 15,000 people called Tempio Pausania. And it's a hill mountain town, mountain city. And the people there were just so welcoming, and news spreads fast after a while, because I'm walking, you don't see many Black Americans walking around, this small Italian town. And so I would go to the restaurant, one of the fancy restaurants, there's only like one or two, and the maitre d' goes, "Oh, you're the American. I heard about you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, well, yeah, that's me." And I was doing my own. Have you seen the Equalizer? The Equalizer 4, I think, when he goes to a small Italian town, and he's eating his croissant and cappuccino. I was like, I'm doing the real Equalizer. This is me. But the food, Joe, the water, just drinking the water. They had some of the purest water, and a fountain in the park that people fill up their jugs, and the water is so delicious. The mountain water, it is so unbelievably good that no one has bottled water. Which also makes the food delicious, which makes the vegetables organic. And, Italy has banned any kind of man-made, vegetable products or any man-made food. And the food is unbelievable. A friend of mine, now this is how wonderful Sardinian people are. My friend's friend, we went to dinner the night before she left, and he and his family, and he speaks nothing but Italian. Now, my Italian, when I studied there, was okay. Like I could understand a little bit. That was years ago. And I've been back, and I try to learn the language as much as possible. But one of the reasons why I really wanted to go for at least a month and a half, 2 months, is to get immersed, to see what it's like to actually live in Italy. and to practice my Italian, to sink or swim, because no one in that little town really speaks English. I mean, everyone speaks Italian. So
Right.
I have my Duolingo. That I would get up in the morning. I would practice for 45 minutes to an hour on my Duolingo, and then I go have my cappuccino and croissant for $4. $4 for a cappuccino and croissant. I mean, you can't. Delicious food.
Mm.
And then I would go and explore the city or hiking. The hiking there is wonderful. So he invited me. He said, "I want you to come to my farm tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay, well, I have nothing to do." Basically, he doesn't speak any English, so he picks me up at 10. I go to his farm. He makes acorn liquor, which is no one makes acorn liquor, but he has this distillery, has a farm, and he wanted to show me. And then he showed me his farm, and he goes, "Yeah, my father, while I grease up the pig, he had a little pig there that he put oil on and salt, made the fire, put it on the rotisserie, and he goes, my father, while I'm making the food, for lunch, my father's going to take you to the garden." I was like, to the farm. I was like, okay, well, father's 83 years old and got energy like this. He's like, oh, come on. Doesn't care if I understand him or not. Really, just assumes that I know Italian. Let's talk about this and the particolare. And this man was in such great shape. He's 83 years old and walking. Come on, this. He's like, the reason why I'm such great shape is I'm out here 3 hours a day, working my farm and this, that, and the other. And he goes, these are the olive trees. And he goes, I like to put them in a circle so I can, and he's jumping up and grabbing, the dead branches. And I'm like, oh, he's exercising and it's not exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he's in such great shape, because he's walking and jumping. And I was like, oh my, because Sardinia has a blue zone, which is, where people live until centenarians. People are 100 years old. There's so many of them. And I was like, oh, I get why older people, they're always walking with each other. And there's this really sense of family. And he goes, here, I'm going to show you. He said, we have 2 wells. Once again, the water. He goes, look at these tomatoes. I got 23 different types of tomatoes. These are good for soups. These are good for pasta. These are good for salads. He hands me a tomato like the size of my hand. It was unbelievable. And he's like, it's just so loving and so open. Drops me back after about an hour. Drops me back off to his son. He goes, okay, bye. Never saw him again. And then his son, this guy, remember, I just met him the night before. I don't know him from anyone, but he knows my friend. And as long as you know my friend, you're my people too. We go to this beautiful dinner. He invites all his, mind you, this is a Tuesday afternoon, just like today. Tuesday afternoon around 1:00. He has 6 of his friends come over, right? They all, because they eat. What they do in Italy is they eat in a small breakfast in the morning. They work a little bit, and then they get have a huge meal. The pig is roasted beautifully, delicious. He puts a bowl of tomatoes with olive oil and salt, which is one of the best things I've ever tasted. All his friends bring their own wine that they made, their own sausage, their own cheeses. It was a feast for like 3 hours. They're talking Italian. I'm there. They're like, here, drink more and more. I'm like, I can't handle this. It's unbelievable. And then one of his friends comes up to me and he goes, now, as I said, I just met the man. And now his friend goes, you have a coin? And I give him a coin. And he's like, I was like, what's this for? And he goes, and he hands me this little pouch, and I open it up, and it's a knife with a bone of a horn, of a sheep horn, switchblade, a coltello patada. And I'm like, what is this for? He goes, now you're a true Sardinian. Sardinians give this to your family to protect your family. I can't give it to you. You have to pay for it. But that's how open and loving and wonderful the Sardinian people were to me. And you don't really, I don't think you find that much in the States anymore, because
Mm.
we're polarized in a lot of areas, and people are very afraid of who is this strange person, or, I don't trust, no one trusts anybody here, I don't think. And there's lost that sense of family and community a little bit for bringing someone in. They did not know me from Adam, yet embraced me with food, drink, and love, and just companionship. And that's my Italian rant of why I love
You should be a tour guide or not, or working for Italy, getting people there. I always say too, I wish people, when you go on vacation, it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. Everybody's in a good mood, right? You'll walk up to somebody with a big smile on your face. Hey, how you doing? Where you from? You say that now to somebody on the streets, they look at you like you want to kill them, or they look away.
Right.
Yeah, it's a crazy time we're living in right now. And I've been to a lot of countries because of the Navy. Nowhere near Italy. But I'll tell you what, you're making me want to go.
I'm telling you, Joe, come visit me. I'll be there.
You know what? I saw that movie. You ever seen the Italian Job?
Oh yeah.
That made me want to go to Italy, just that alone. But what you're saying,
the food,
I want to look this family up and see if I'm sure they'd invite me in for the same way.
Since you know me, you're good to go.
I'm going to tell them. I know Chris Williams.
If you like Italian food, you haven't had Italian food until you've been in Italy. Now, I make it seem like this. If I had to describe an orgasm to you, and you've never had an orgasm, you'd be like, okay, it feels like you get warm and like being on a roller coaster, that feeling and this, that, and the other in your body. And you're like, okay, yeah, I know that feeling. I know how it feels. And then you have an orgasm, you're like, oh, okay. now I know. It's the same thing with Italian food. You're like, I've never had a tomato that I was like, this is the greatest thing a bowl full of tomatoes was one of the best meals I've ever had. And I'm like, oh, that's what a tomato is supposed to taste like. Organic, fresh, unbelievable, man.
See, I think I love Italian food, but I've never had Italian food. Just like I love Chinese food, but I never had Chinese food until I went to Hong Kong, and I'm like, oh, this is Chinese food. I love Chinese food.
Exactly.
But I'd love to go to Italy.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. It's amazing.
And the architecture and the history. I love, especially ancient architecture like that. Love it.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful place inside and out. Like the people as well as the surroundings. It's incredible.
I watch I watched everything you post on Instagram, and the funny stuff is hilarious. But your trip to Italy, man, you're putting stuff on there that I guarantee you're making everybody want to visit Italy.
Yeah,
so that's pretty cool stuff.
And I keep saying to myself, I got to I have all these videos, and I want to put together something. It's been what, 7, 8 months. I still haven't put it together because there's so much. So I miss it. I miss it. I'm going back soon.
So what are you working on now? I heard a rumor. I heard a rumor online. You can tell me if this is true or not. Dodgeball 2?
Hey, you can say that rumor as much as you want. I wish it was true. I've not heard anything so far. There's been talk about it. They originally had a Dodgeball 2 script going around. A guy from Silicon Valley who was I was in Silicon Valley as well.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the writers wrote a draft for Dodgeball 2 and submitted it. And at one point they said, this is like 12 years ago, they said, we're making it again. It'll probably be another year. And it never happened. And then Stuart Cornfield, who one of the producers, he passed away. And they made Zoolander 2 instead, which I don't understand. But yeah, and everybody who's been in that movie has had a very successful career. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just packed full of, and it's, to try to pull everybody back together, it'll be interesting. So hopefully we'll see.
Well, was it as fun to? I'm sorry.
I'd love to be in it again.
Oh, I'll bet. Was it as fun to make as it is to watch? Because I laugh my ass off every time I watch it.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about how I got Dodgeball is because after Crazy Eyes Killer aired, The casting directors had me do a reading for a new movie. So a lot of times I'll do a reading of a script with actors and with the producers and some of the actors, and they haven't cast them yet. So they called me in for this reading of Dodgeball, and it was Vince Vaughn was there, and Justin Long was there, and of course Ben, and then Jeremy Piven was there. He read one of the roles. A whole bunch of other actors that were just reading, and I read the role of Dwight. And man, Rawson Thurber, who did Terry Tate, Office Linebacker. If you've ever seen that on YouTube, he did these commercials with this office linebacker that tell come on, Lord, fill up the coffee cup, Lori, and he tackled them. It's really good. Look it up on YouTube. Terry Tate, Office Linebacker. So he wrote this script called Dodgeball, and it was such an amazing script, like subtly funny. I like wacky, silly, but smart. There's you can tell there's a smartness to it. There's an acuity that's like really, you can be getting hit in the balls with a red ball is hysterical. But when there's small things like, when he lifts up the case and there's only, usually, remember in the movies, you'd always have all the money in the briefcase, but there's only one little thing. Just small things that were hysterical. So we did this reading, and then they started auditioning people. And they said, "Oh, you come in for the audition can you read Dwight with these other actors for the one who falls in love, the Joel Moore, the nerd guy who falls in love with Stanovich, Missy Pyle."
Missy
right?
Pyle. What a crazy the way they made her up too.
No, she's a beautiful woman too.
Uh-huh.
So they had me come in and read opposite, that character. So I was the one in the auditions reading, and it was Rainn Wilson came in for that role. Jason Segel came in for that role. Like all these people, and I was reading opposite them for doing this thing. So I'm like, do I have the audition? I mean, do I have the role? So I had no idea because I kept auditioning, and they said, "Well, Chris, can you try to make it more urban or this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I can do whatever." And so I did it, and then we had a great Alan Rook, from Ferris Bueller, and from
Cameron
Session for Cameron, right.
Yeah,
he read for the Stephen Root character, and Alan Tudyk, who was amazing as Steve the Pirate. So we're all sitting around and taking a picture, what a cast picture would look like even before they were cast. And he didn't have any lines in the whole thing. So we're all having like a group audition, and he just goes, "Arg," like he agreed. And I was like, "Oh God, that's perfect. Like he's perfect. He's amazing." And then when Joel Moore went in because I was reading even in the big testing for the auditions, I was reading opposite, and Joel went in, Jason went in. I worked with Jason, I worked with other people, and they were all fantastic. But when Joel went in, Ben was like, "So what do you think?" I was like, "Joel's the man." That goes to show you that even though you can be a great actor, you can be hysterical, you can be everything. When the guy walks in and he's that role, it doesn't matter how good you do or how perfect you would be for it. That's the dude. So Joel killed it. And at one point I was like, I guess they said, "Oh, by the way, he gave me a book, Ross, and he said, you're welcome to the show." And I was like, "Oh, thank goodness." So I kind of got in a back door to get the role. And we filmed for 3 months. We had a dodgeball training camp where we played dodgeball, learned how to play dodgeball again. And everybody's really competitive. Joel's competitive. Everyone's really competitive. So we got our workout and bruises and sore. And it was so much fun. I'm like, I'm getting paid to play dodgeball. It was so
no kidding.
And we really coalesced as a group. Because you really had to, spending all that time doing that, and Ben's wife Christine Taylor was in it, and she's a gem. And on set, we had such an amazing time just hanging out, and Vince came up with this thing called "Out of Respect." Like, out of respect, so and so. Could you Well, they do this out of respect. So that was our little phrase, and we also got to improv a lot too, which was fun. So you do the thing and then add whatever you wanted to, like boop, dead. My cousin Ray boop, dead. That was an improv by me when he comes to when Justin's character came in. So it was just amazing. And then we got to spend 2 weeks in Vegas.
Oh, nice.
Shooting in Vegas. And that was, it's so great being on location, being away from home, working and being in Vegas. Vince is the king of Vegas. He was the king. And he would be like, oh, we'd sit at a table and, at a restaurant. And he's like, let's just order everything. Order everything. He said, we'll have everything. We had so much, and we were, all gratis because they just want pigging out, and it was just amazing. And then my fun story is we had to work the next morning at like 8 a.m, and we all went to a strip club. And it was like, and this is 2003, right? So we're in the strip club, and I'm like, I don't spend I don't spend money in strip clubs. I don't have enough money to be wasting on whatever. So we're in the bathroom, and I said, Vince, I'm gonna go go home because we got to work in the morning. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, we got to work in the morning. He's like, and I was like, I don't have any more. He gives me $400. He goes, you go out there and you make me proud. And I'm like, Vince, I can't. He's like, get out there. And I was like, okay, man, a generous dude, a gem of a guy. Steven, it's just amazing time. So much fun to be part of that.
An
iconic.
You guys, I laugh every time I watch it. I laugh my ass off. Yeah, he's a great actor. Ben Stiller, everything he does is ridiculous and funny. All you guys nailed it. So
Jason
I'm sure.
Bateman.
Jason Bateman is
Hank Azaria.
Yeah.
Hank Azaria was. I mean, there's so many people who are in it that you're like, oh, I forgot he was in it. Yeah,
Jason Bateman is so versatile. I mean, he played like, I don't know, a doofus, and then you see him in Ozark, and he's a polar opposite. So another one.
Yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun time.
So Crazy Eyes. I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. I love it. It got good in season 6. That's when he adopted the black family. That, and JB Smoove when he got on there. But Crazy Eyes, that episode, and I watched it again yesterday. Man, that cracks me up. So tell me how you got how a kid from Westchester, New York, became Crazy Eyes, because that's a funny story.
It was season 3, episode 8, and I would not have normally now. If they had that role now, I wouldn't even be able to audition for it because they would bring in a rapper. They would bring in, it was stunt cast it, with a real rapper. So I did a sketch comedy show. One of my biggest breaks was in 2000. I did a sketch comedy show called Hype with Frank Caliendo. Do you know Frank Caliendo? He does the impressions. Yeah. Frank was in it.
I love Frank Caliendo.
A whole bunch of other people were in it. It was a sketch comedy show. And I got to do a lot of characters. A lot of my stuff, my stand-up and stuff, was doing characters and doing different things. And they knew I could do I did a Master P impression and as a rapper, but the casting director, Marla Garland, was Jeff Garland's wife.
Right.
So she's like, oh, you should see Chris for this. And supposedly Ghostface Killer, Sticky Fingers, Mike Epps, like all these people read for Curb, and was playing a rapper. Now for the audition, all you get is a piece of paper that it was like you're at your engagement party. You talk to Larry. He likes Asian pussy, if I could say that.
I was in the Navy. You can say anything you want.
And you can't live without it. That was it for the audition. Mm-hmm. So, and you're a rapper. And I was like, okay. So I knew the sense of, with Curb, what makes Curb so funny is you have to know what makes Curb funny. And what makes Kurt funny is Larry is he's not an asshole. He just says what he thinks, and he's very opinionated, and gets away with a lot of stuff and just says outrageous stuff. But if you can make Larry out of control, you can take his control away, where he, as such a strong character, really doesn't know what to do with himself, because he always knows what he's doing or what he's saying. He's always in command. But if you can take that away from him, and that tension is where the comedy came from. So I was like, let me take a swig at it. And I have blue eyes, put brown contacts in to make you look harder. And I had a tattoo here that said Wolf, WOLFF. And I had these fangs from the show. I had a grill here and these two silver fangs. So I said, I'll call myself like the Wolf Man. Oh, like some dumb rapper, and I call myself the Wolf Man. And I was doing my research on rap, watching MTV Raps, watching Cribs. Remember, I used to go, and Ghostface Killer was giving a tour, and so I wanted to get an idea of what I could bring as Crazy Eyes. So I left my house. I left my house. Chris could not be there, because if I came in like this, okay, I'm ready to read, and then I went into it, you're not going to believe it in the first place. So I left my house as Wolfman. So I went to the wrong office just to see if I could get a reaction out of the receptionist of like, yeah, I'm looking for a dish for the Curb Your Enthusiasm. They're like, she's like, yeah, it's down that way. I was like, yeah, thanks. I was like, oh, it's working. Like, I don't know if it's working or not. So I go to the audition, and I go in there. And the great part about early seasons, and I don't know what they did in subsequent seasons, but Larry was in the audition, because you have to audition with Larry. It was Larry, Jeff Garland, Robert Whitey, and the casting director. And Robert Whitey directed it, and of course Jeff and Larry. And I went in there, and I was like, yeah, what's up? And I was like, not in awe of going, oh my God, it's fucking Larry David. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I love your show. I didn't do any of that stuff. I was just like, so I said, what's your name? Your name Larry? David Larry? You got two first names. How'd you get that shit, man? He's like, my dad. I was like, I like that shit, man. I like this shit. He's like, oh, so this guy's like, whatever. And we did the scene, and that's when I came up with, I said, because in my world as a rapper at that time, I would be like, yeah, you my nigga, right? Which automatically makes him go, I don't know if I should answer that. I don't know if I'm allowed to answer that. I don't know if it's inappropriate or whatever. And he kind of went with it. And I was like, yeah. Because that's, to the creative part of the character side of it, that's, what I would say. That wouldn't mean anything to me. But like, yeah, you my nigga, you're my friend. And he was like, oh, yeah, I am. And then I left. And Jeff told me later, he's like, Larry was like, is he a good rapper? He's like, that was funny. Is he a good rapper? And he's like, yeah, Larry. Yeah, he's not a rapper. He's an actor. He's like, what? So, but Jeff knew and Bob knew. So I got the role. Now, the great part about it was I had these fangs and these contacts, and I don't wear contacts. And I'm like, I don't want to wear these contacts. I'm like, and they called me up. They said, okay, what's your character's name? And I was like, I don't want to be the Wolf Man. I was like, oh, I got to take one out. And I'll call myself like Crazy Eyes Killer with a K. Because I knew the outline of what the story was going to be that I'm going to come get you later because you ruined my marriage or my engagement. So I kind of knew ahead of time what I'd be dealing with. So named Crazy Eyes Killer, and they named the episode after me. And so when I got on set, also, I still didn't want to be like, I'm a big fan. I still wanted to keep a little bit of rub this, or like he didn't know exactly who he was dealing with. Mm-hmm. And to Jeff and I was just trying to be as hard as Chris could be as Crazy Eyes. So I was really pushing it as much as I could. And there's no audience. Like if you're doing a sitcom or you're doing a play or something, you can feel the audience believing you or not believing you or whatever. But I had nothing to base it off of. And I'm like, Jeff, is it going? He's like, keep going. I'm like, okay. where I was like, I just kept on with Crazy Eyes. Now the house tour, since I knew the house tour was going to be, he hated house tours, I needed to make it as mundane as possible as well. So I was watching MTV Cribs, and I was watching, and I said, they got some floor, made us some like floor shit. He's like, yeah, floor shit. And we cut, and he took me aside and he goes, you're doing a great job with this role. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. So he's like, I could have written it, but I was like, I'm sure you could have, Larry. I'm sure, yeah. And he's like, and so it was such a nice way for me to at least express, and it's all improv. People don't realize that there's no script. There's an outline of what you should do. So that whole house tour, they're like, give a house tour. So I have to come up with things that I would think that would be mundane, ridiculous. And I have outtakes from it too, where I'm like, I got a pool, I put some water in the motherfucking pool. Otherwise it'd be a hole in the ground. You know what I'm saying? I put some water in the motherfucker. Like that type of, And at one point, we go into a music room, and I had some people in there. By the way, Delicious is my 6'5" bodyguard.
Oh, really?
It's not people think it's a maid. When I say, yo, Delicious, I say, yo, Delicious, tell Matilda to come clean this up. Because when he first comes to the door and he knocks on the door and I answer, I didn't answer the first time. They cut it out. It's this big brother that comes to the door. He's like, yeah, what do you want? He's like, I'm here for Crazy Eyes. He's like, yeah. And then he shuts the door, and then I come out. So they cut that whole thing out. So when I yell Delicious, it's my bodyguard. And I got that from Cedric the Entertainer had a thing about how you gonna call a grown man delicious. So I used that from him. You borrow things from people. You borrow things and you incorporate them.
See, I just learned something about that episode.
Yeah. So we were we'd been in the room, and then he's like, I go, yeah, that's my cousin DT, who was my barber. My cousin, and I use his name as my cousin DT, this, that, and the other. Yeah, got a couple bitches. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yeah, you gotta have a couple bitches around. I was like, yeah, you gotta always have bitches around, but you gotta spread the bitches out. You got a bitch here, bitch there, and you walk in a room and go, oh shit, bitch. And he's like, I like your theory of spreading the bitches out. That got cut, which was good, but it was funny. And being able to make Larry laugh or make him break, that was the pièce de résistance for me. And also, if you look at my face when they cut back to him and he goes, are you my Caucasian? I'm not ready for that. Remember, it's all improv. When he says it, I'm like, oh yeah, because I was like, oh, that's funny. That's like, but that's Larry's brilliance. It's like that made the character sing right there. That relationship between the two of us, it was great. And I got to play, and it was, and the fact that I got to put an imprint on a classic show that really was my character and my creation in part of a giant machine, of Curve. I was so fortunate to be there. And then the dinner, they had the episode, The Dinner, at the end of season 3. It was a big dinner with all swearing. Yep. I was supposed to be there for the dinner with Wanda, but Wanda couldn't make it. She had a scheduling conflict, so I didn't get into the episode. But then I came back in season 10.
What after that's the fatwa?
Yeah. And I had I didn't know what we were gonna do, but I had a whole history where Crazy Eyes converted to Judaism, and I was doing Fiddler on the Roof of My Car. I was like, matchmaker, find me a bitch. Like, I had this whole thing. I had a yarmulke that had, sparkles on it. And he's like, no, we're not gonna do that. I was like, okay, well, you gotta be ready. And then they showed the episode.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it was so ridiculous when he was popping those bubbles. But when I was watching it again yesterday, I was thinking to myself, if there's bubbles, guys are going to pop them. Now, we're not going to do it at a party, stepping on them, but we're going to twist those things and we're going to pop a few. Exactly. I still do it. And the when you wanted him to give you some advice on your rap, I mean, that's all improvised when he's like that. Well, I like that Snapple and Crack thing.
He didn't know I was going to bring out a rap. He had no idea. So when I'm reading it to him, he has a reaction to all that kind of stuff. And I had a whole thing called, you want Steinfeld, right? And he wouldn't want to correct it. He's like, Steinfeld, whatever the fuck, motherfucker, I don't care. that's something that a rapper would do, not being disrespectful, but just I don't want rappers not gonna Crazy Eyes not gonna watch Seinfeld, so he knows about like Steinfeld. I call it Steinfeld, and he would be offended, like I would just say, but he can't be because he doesn't know if he's afraid of him or not.
Right.
So I got to read it, and he's cracking up, and then you do another take of it. And you get the germs of of the seeds of it, and then you build it up into you do it again, and I kept making him laugh, which was such an honor for me to do. And at the end of when I say I thought it's Kundela, Cundela. Everyone thinks it's cool de la, but it's actually Kundela with an apostrophe, and that was a word me and my boys made up on Martha's Vineyard, just to see if we could start being funny or whatever. So as an homage to my boys, I used Kundela, and it worked because he's like, wherever Kundela is, we are Kundela. So people think it's cool de la, but now the rest.
See, I always thought it was coup de la.
Cool de la, yeah.
Because I'd say that to my son all the time. I'd be like, "Hey, are we coup de la?" And he's like, "We're coup de la." Yeah. So I've been saying it wrong.
No, you can say it has a life of its own now.
Well, tell your boys from Martha's Vineyard it's still going. So exactly. I thought I love Crazy Eyes. Now, have you ever thought about like with your Instagram stuff, getting in Crazy Eyes mode and giving marital advice? Because he gave some good advice. He liked the Asians.
A funny thing happened was Lenny Kravitz became a fan of Crazy Eyes because a friend of mine knew Lenny, and I met him at an Oscar party, and I did a little thing with little video with him on and like we're talking 11 years ago, and we did a little skit, whatever. And my friend, he's like, "Hey, Lenny wants to fly you down to the Bahamas and do a Crazy Eyes thing with him, rapping on his album."
Nice.
I flew to the Bahamas, and I spent 4 days with them, and I'll send it to you. I'll send you a clip of it that I have, and you'll love it. Not many people have seen it, and I never released it because Lenny his people weren't happy with it, but we did a whole skit, and I have one clip from it that where I'm actually rapping on Lenny's album in the studio as Crazy Eyes. So
I won't send it out or do anything with it.
I'll send it. Well, you can do at this point. Crazy Eyes and Curb is over, so you can do whatever you want with it. But I'll send it to you. It's really funny. It's really funny.
Yeah, that's
so I've gotten so many great things from Curb and Crazy Eyes, and Robert Whitey, who won for Best Directing for that episode. They only won 2 Emmys, and the first Emmy was for Crazy Eyes as a director, and he thanked me on stage, which was like you never get to thank a guest star on stage. So I was really honored that he had a chance that he did that for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's all these years later. I mean, I'm still loving it, and I'm surprised when I meet people, and hey, I'll say, hey, you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, and these people are like, no, I've never watched it. I'm like, you got to watch it. It's way better than Seinfeld, and absolutely hilarious. That whole thing too with you giving him the tour of the house, and I guess I had forgotten about it. Jeff and Susie bought a house, and he didn't want to do the tour, so there was no way he was telling Crazy Eyes no.
Exactly. So I had to make it as mundane as make it as boring, and like he really doesn't want. So that's that tension of like he doesn't want to be there, but he's forced. Right. You don't force Larry to do anything. He doesn't know anything he doesn't want to do. But if you can put him in a position where he will do something, being forced to do it. That's what makes it funny.
Yep.
That's what makes it funny. Well, and I got a chance to. I have many friends who were on the show, and Kim Whitley called me up, who was Monina in the carpool lane.
Oh, Monina.
She was like, what should I do? I'm like, just go for it. And so I told her my experience with that, and it's been a really wonderful. I've gotten recognized all over the world.
That's awesome.
As crazy. I was in Japan. I was in Croatia. I mean, everywhere. Like on the train, people are like, "Are you crazy?" I was in Spain. Are you crazy? I was like, "Yeah." So it's been really a wonderful gift.
That's awesome. Hey, that speaking of Monina, that episode has some wild history.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
there's been so many cool episodes of that show. I binged through that so many times. Now they're doing a podcast. Jeff and Susie
I'm
are
on
doing
it.
have you done that
Yeah,
episode
I
yet?
did it. I did it last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See,
So
right now I've only listened up to season 2, so they're
yeah,
just going to start season 3
yep,
on the
yep,
video part.
yeah, yeah.
It was too bad about this last season. They made so many jokes about Richard
Richard.
Lewis
Yeah,
dying, and then he
yeah,
actually dies.
yeah.
So
That's life.
yeah,
That's how life gets you.
that's my dad always said.
And,
Dying's part of living.
and Super Dave also.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
he was so funny on that
it
show.
was incredible.
Yeah,
You know who
it
his
was.
brother, you know who his brother is, right?
Let's see. His last name was Einstein. No, I don't. Who's his
Albert
brother?
Brooks.
No, really?
Yes,
I didn't know that.
Albert Brooks is his brother.
Oh my God, there were so many funny
Crazy?
episodes with him, and then they did the funeral for Albert Brooks later on. Well, it's funny you say that Crazy Eyes wouldn't watch Seinfeld because JB Smoove, I never watched that show. So when they did the reunion, and he's like, "Who's that little fat bastard?" He's like, "You never watched the show?"
I know.
So
It's and what's his name has been really JB is a friend too. I've known him for a long time, and he's a great guy. And he took Curb to another level.
he did. He really did. Once they got, that whole season 6 with adopting the family from the hurricane, it got so much funnier. And the stupid stuff, like the showing up the day after a party invitation or something, that's genius and stupid at the same time. I love it.
Yeah.
So that must have been awesome being part of that.
It is. It is totally.
So you're a big football fan. Oh,
Yes,
wait, no, let's talk football. You like the Bills.
Yes.
I
have to tell you why I like the Bills.
Why do you like the Bills?
Because I'm not from Buffalo. People assume that I'm from Buffalo. And you have to be, in order to be a Buffalo Bills fan, you have to have suffered. Like, why would you choose to be a Buffalo Bills fan? My mom's from Buffalo, and every Thanksgiving we would go up to, and my dad's wasn't really into football, so I didn't really have a team. I like the Minnesota Vikings, the Jets or Giants. I didn't really have a team.
Mm-hmm.
So every Thanksgiving we would go up to Buffalo, for Thanksgiving dinner, and my cousin was a Buffalo Jill cheerleader.
They had cheerleaders, huh?
One Thanksgiving in 1980, one Thanksgiving, she brought home a linebacker she was dating, Lucius Sanford, and a defensive end, D. Hardison, to Thanksgiving dinner. And they got me the whole team's autograph. I'm like, I'm 13. I'm like, oh my God, I'm a Bills fan. I have Bills blood now. Of course, I've suffered for the past.
Hey, I'm a Browns fan. So you want to talk suffering?
Yeah, the Browns is rough too.
Yeah. So in 2007, I went to back then I was dating this super fan. So I don't know if she was the bone lady for the Browns. She would go to these games and beehive hairdo and this crazy outfit. But so in 2007, I was dating her, and the Browns went 10-6 and didn't make the playoffs that year, but they went 8-0 at home. Well, one of the games in 2007 was against the Bills, and it was the blizzard game. I don't know if you remember that 2007. The morning started off raining, so we were all soaking wet. And as we're walking to the stadium, blizzard, whiteout condition, blizzard, and we're all frozen. People are getting sick. You couldn't see the field. It was an amazing game. And then the Browns field goal kicker, Phil Dawson.
Yeah.
Every time he kicked a field goal, God was a Browns fan. He would open up the skies. No snow would come down, and he'd hit these oh my God. It was an amazing game. But the blizzard game is
you'll always remember that.
Oh, heck yeah. And then they've been a disappointment ever since. But
Deshaun, man. Yeah, it's tough. Being a Browns fan.
This is year 3 with Deshaun. I'll tell you what, it's a
struggle.
It's a struggle. Nick Chubb going down last year.
Well, he's healthy though.
Well, this is the second catastrophic leg injury on the same leg. I mean, he did the same thing in Georgia. So, I mean, I'm praying for the guy. We love him in Cleveland.
Yeah. I thought a couple of years ago, you guys had a squad that I was like, oh, for sure they're going to and it's just not the Browns years.
It never is. We're cursed or something. But the Bills, man,
We get so
Allen.
close, dude.
Uh,
We were 4 in a row we lost.
I know.
And then the 13-second game. And then the miracle of Motown to Tennessee. So many. And then supposedly, I saw a stat saying that haven't lost by more than like 6 points or whatever in like 20 games or something like that. But we can't get over the hump. So
Wow.
hopefully this year, it's always you have hope for the year, and we'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see.
Yeah, I know. We say it every year. This, maybe next year. We call where the Browns play the Factory of Sadness. So it's been rough my entire life. Getting so close. Ernest Biner fumbling the ball on the
Oh,
goal line
I know.
to go to the Super Bowl. John Elway driving 99 yards and to tie the game and win it in overtime.
I would love to see an AFC championship with the Browns and the Bills. Of course, I want the Bills, but that'd be a wonderful thing to see. So,
well, if they get that far, I'll make some kind of side bet with you or something.
Yeah, perfect.
So let's talk about this magician thing too. I mean, you are such a rounded guy. I mean,
well, I don't have a wife and kids, so I have a lot of extra time to do a lot of.
Oh yeah, that makes a huge difference.
It does make a huge difference. That's why
I got 2 kids in college.
Oof. And that's why I've been to 52 countries. So, I couldn't if I had a wife and kids. Well, so I for my birthday, for my 40th birthday, there's a place here called the Magic Castle, which is a really magical place. No pun intended, but it's a really beautiful place. It's a giant, like, kind of castle that has 5 different bars, has a restaurant, and it's dedicated since 1960, dedicated to magic. So you have to be invited by a magician or a member. It's a club. To be invited by a member, you have to dress up. All the men have to be in suit and ties. All the women have to be in dresses. You can't take it off. There's no photography in the club. It's a beautifully curated establishment, and they have lessons there. They have a library there that, as a magician's member, I can go in and I can look at any trick. Like, they have books of, like, if I want to know how to do so and so, and there's workshops. You work with other magicians, and I got classes there, or I went to magic school, and I was like, because I always done tricks and magic. Everyone knows like a trick or two,
right?
But I got to be in this little magic school, and it was so much fun, and I got the bug. And then, in order to become a magician's member, you have to perform in front of, like, some of the best magicians in the world. Shutogawa, and all these, like I'm telling you, oh yeah, shoot. Of course you would.
I know David Blaine.
Right, exactly. A whole bunch of a panel of magicians, and then I was accepted as a magician's member, and then you had to do 3 skill tricks to get in. So. Yeah, and I've been doing it for 16 years now, 15 years now, learning new things. And I've got a lot of great magician friends, and there's friends of mine like Eric Jones. If you don't know Eric Jones, you should follow him on Instagram. He does coins. He's a prestidigitator. He does coins, and he's a fabulous magician. Adam Wiley, who's got like 1 million guys on TikTok. He does walk around. Some great magicians that I'm privileged to know, and I can get some insights on stuff, and we exchange techniques and stuff like that. But even as a magician, and I see some of the things that I've seen at the castle, because there's a close-up gallery, there's a close-up room. We have like 25 people, and you see some of the best magicians in the world do close-up. There's a parlor, which is a little bigger. Then there's a stage, a palace of mystery, where they have, birds and, sawing people and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But so I really love close-up magic, and the things that I've seen, just unbelievable, that even if I know some techniques and I know what's going on, I have no clue, because there's so I consider myself, I'm an amateur magician, like I'm an amateur magician, but these guys, the professionals, whoo, these guys are incredible, can do incredible stuff. Incredible stuff.
It's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah,
I can't figure it out. So I don't try. I just like to be amused by it. I
yeah,
don't
it's
want to
fun.
think about
Next
it.
time you come to LA, you got to go to the Magic Castle.
I used to live out there. I went to college at the College of Sequoias in Visalia.
Oh yeah.
When I was in the Navy, I was stationed in Lemoore
Oh no. Okay.
up by Fresno.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I loved it out there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun.
You have a really cool relationship with your neighbor.
Oh, Cheryl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I for those who are just my neighbor Cheryl. She's 81. She's Japanese. Her and her husband live across the street. I've lived in my house for 20 years. They've been here since 1977, I think. They've been here, 56 years, whatever, or 46 years, 50 years. And whenever I'm outside, he goes to bed at 9 in the morning. He's up all night on his computer doing something. He's 83. He's up all night and sleeps from like 9 in the morning to like 3 in the afternoon. And she gets up at normal 7, 8 in the morning. So she's just bored. And it's just the two of them. They have no kids. And whenever I'm outside doing my yard work or something, she'll come over. She would come over and say hi and this, that, and the other. And January of last year, the 2023, she's coming over and I'm like, how you doing, Cheryl? She's like, oh, I'm fine. She's just a little Japanese lady that's just bored, basically. And she's like, I lost my mom and my sister. And she's like, I just want to die. Not that I want to commit suicide, but I don't want to be here anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? She's nothing to look forward to. Called Tanashimi. They used to have the Tanashimi Club where you would go and look forward to doing something. And I'm like, so, okay, Cheryl, we're going to walk every Saturday. That's what you're going to have. That's your Tanashimi Club. So we've been walking every Saturday for the past year and a half now. So it's like she comes over and we go. Now we have our own little path. We walk about almost a mile. She's in great shape too. And we go to a bakery and we get our standard things. They know us at the bakery now. And we sit there. And then she never learned Japanese because she was in an internment camp, a Japanese internment camp. She was American. She was born in Wyoming and then moved to Los Angeles. And so we've been taking Japanese lessons together. So on Duolingo, so we're both learning Japanese at the same time. But it gives her something to do, and also makes me feel like I'm trying to make a difference in someone's life, that and she tells me stories. So it's therapeutic for me as well, and gives me something, Tanashimi, to look forward to.
That's pretty amazing.
And I took her to on Thursday. I took her to a independent living place so she could see what it's like to be. Because if you're 81 and 83, they've been in their house. They don't have any kids. I want them to be in someplace safe and someplace nice before they have to be in someplace. You know what I mean?
Right.
While they can still enjoy it. So hopefully in the next year we can get them situated.
Wow.
So
that's pretty awesome. When I see you posting videos, just you guys out walking or talking or just nothing in particular. I think that's really awesome that you do that.
And my neighbor up the street is 103. Mr. Stanley's up the street. And I get to know, I kind of be like the mayor on the block and introducing people. And the funny thing is, there's another guy named Richard, who's also 81, who's also Japanese, who lives 6 houses up on our street. And I said, Cheryl, you know Richard, right? She goes, no. And I was like, Cheryl, you don't know Richard? Because she doesn't go out at all. You know Richard? And Richard came over. He goes fishing, brings me fish. And I introduced them. He's like, yeah, we were born in the same internment camp in Wyoming.
Wow.
And I'm like, you've lived across from each other for almost 50 years and you don't know each other? So bringing the community together, Joe. That's what that's awesome, man. See, now everybody should pick one person out and do something good for one person. And then we won't have this crap in our country. Exactly. Yeah. Each one, teach one.
I did a conversation. My last conversation I did with my congressman. I'm friends with my congressman here. And we were kind of talking about what's going on in the world. And he said, the problem is people don't fear God or fear jail. And those two things, if you don't fear God and you don't fear going to jail, then you're going to do whatever you want to do. And it's like,
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
So it's a crazy time we're living in right now.
Crazy time. And all you can do is just the best you can do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Be friendly, be good to other people, and try to do your best.
That's what I do.
Look, if everyone just took their own responsibility to be nice, and then just do your job. If you just did your job, whatever job it is, if you just did your job and had respect and a courtesy for the people, it'd be such an easier place to be.
And people just need to calm down, take a deep breath, and it's nuts right now, but it's not the end of the world. So just relax, talk to a stranger.
Exactly.
So like what you're doing, you took this time out, you spent a little over an hour with me, man. This means so much to me. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there in LA that are like, nah, I'm good. But
no, you asked me nicely, and I was like, and I've been meaning to do it with you. So I'm so glad we had a chance to have a chat.
Yeah, no, this is really cool. Before we go, I mean, what kind of advice? My daughter wants to move out to LA. She wants to be in the entertainment.
Take a deep breath, Joe. Take a deep breath.
I know. She's 21, and I don't want her to, I want her to live in the area code.
Of course.
216. Not.
You gotta let them fly, Joe.
Oh my God. I know. I wasn't preparing myself for that.
And you've also taught her enough. She knows who she is. She knows where she comes from. You've done your job. Now it's like your arm walking away from yourself and going to do its own thing. You just got to let it go and trust your parenting, what you've done. So it's going to be okay.
I think I did a good job, but it still scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But what advice would you give some young person getting in the business? I know you kind of financed your own, your whole way, and you took a big gamble on you.
Yeah.
Which I respect. I did that with my business. I took a gamble on myself and, to be my own boss.
Yes, indeed.
So you did the same thing. What advice would you give some young person now?
Well, a young person, I would say, you don't know what you're going to end up doing. You really don't know what you're going to end up doing. But the formative years, while you're in your early 20s, try things. Try doing something you wouldn't normally try. Try something that has some interest to you and go for it, because you can't do it when you're 40. You really can't, because you're going to be locked in something other. So now is the time to, to fail, to try and fail. That's what I did when I was, as I said, 25. I started, and I was afraid to, because I didn't want to be poor. So I had a regular job, and I didn't want to give up on whatever it was. But if I was going to be an actor and do what I wanted to do, I got to try. So when I was 25, I had 10 credit cards, I think, back in the day, and I was financing my career. And I was at one point from 25 to about 31, 32, I was $60,000 in credit card debt. Which I don't recommend. But remember, I'm in a business which is a gamble business where you can hit the jackpot big. On small things you can hit the jackpot. So I as long as I saw forward progress, as long as I was getting a job here, and that job could lead to this job, and that job could lead to this job, as long as I could see forward progress, then I kept financing. I'm like, okay, well, it's still going. And then the more work you get, the more exposure, the more experience, you can expand. And then I got that TV show Hype, and it knocked out all my debt just like that. Nice. And then I could start over, and I could start from, square one. And that's what led to, this, and this leads to that, this leads to that. So my advice would be to try things, try out things, give it a shot. Don't have any regrets. If it doesn't work, there's always, but also getting an education too. I mean, I went to Georgetown. My parents were like, you're going to get a degree in something. Even though college is, first of all, good for you for financing college is expensive. College is ridiculously expensive. So if your parents are paying for your college get your damn degree, just to honor their commitment to you, and get your degree, and then from there, go for it. Try to do what you can, and figure out what it is, and fail, and you may succeed. And in that failure, you may find something else that you didn't know you even liked. That could have been, you could be trying to be an actor, and then all of a sudden see what a producer looks like, or what a grip looks like, sound, and have a wonderful career in something else within the industry. Right. And also, if you're going into the actor or the performer aspect of it, make your own content. We're talking about TikTok, YouTube. If I had TikTok and YouTube when I was in college, these guys, I'm on so long in the tooth right now that I'm struggling to get my things out there. But these kids got energy. Make your own content. If there's a story you want to see, write the story and shoot it. Mm-hmm. Go for it. Just do it. Try it out. And I'm
reading a book right now. Gary, what's that?
And listen to your parents.
I'm reading Gary Sinise's autobiography right now, and he kind of went the same way. He got the bug and doing plays and started his own theater company, and I think he's doing all right.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. Hey, one more thing too. Steppenwolf, right? Yeah. That's world renowned too.
Yeah.
You do a lot, or you love a lot of music, and you put a lot of stuff on there.
Yes.
Who's your top 5 favorite musicians?
Prince. Mm-hmm. I love Prince. I saw him 14 times. He's just, as a performer. Did you ever get to see him?
No. I mean, I grew up watching and listening to him and never saw him.
As a performer, that man was playing the guitar, singing. It's just the best performer. I mean, incredible. As a musician, I love Sade. As you can tell by my Instagram, I'll always have, like, once a week, I'll have someone with Sade. I've seen her 3 times perform. I think she's an alien because she comes out, does an album, does a tour, and then disappears. You don't see her. You don't hear about her. You don't know where she is, but she's just got a ethereal quality to her. This group called Krungbin. Have you heard of them? Krungbin. Krungbin. They're a trio out of Texas. I'm going to see them August 11th at the Hollywood Bowl. They have kind of like soulful, just a guitar, bass, and drums. And I just love their vibe. It's a very cool vibe, very relaxed. I love Led Zeppelin. I'm listening to their autobiography right now. I love me some Zeppelin, and John Coltrane. I love jazz, so I love. So if I had to do 5 of my, my 5 of my favorites, I would say it's a wide breadth of and also Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture, which I go to see every year at the Hollywood Bowl. So
nice.
I like to keep because my parents were both music teachers, so I like to keep a wide, swath of musical taste.
I'm always disappointed, and we have the Rock Hall here in Cleveland. I'm always disappointed that whenever they talk about the greatest guitar players of all time, they never talk about Eddie Hazel. Now, Eddie Hazel was in Funkadelic, and he played the guitar in Maggot Brain.
Oh, wow.
Do you know Maggot Brain?
No.
I'm telling you, you got listen to Maggot Brain. The album cover's got a woman, and she's got this big giant round afro. That's the one you got to listen to.
Oh, nice.
Eddie Hazel.
I like that, Joe.
Dude, it's a life-changing song. I'm telling you. Eddie Hazel, it's a 10-minute guitar solo. And so George Clinton told him in the first half of the song, he wanted him to think like his mother was just murdered. So he played that guitar thinking his mother was just murdered. In the second half of the song, he told him to play it like he found out his mother was still alive. So the emotion in this song automatically should make him top 5 greatest guitar players of all time. A Maggot Brain by Funkadelic. It's
I will listen to that.
And
Thank you for
I
telling me that.
guarantee it will change your life. You will want to play that song all the time. There's
Oh,
not one word
fantastic.
spoken in it, but you will love that song.
Thank you,
So
man. I appreciate you
I,
turning me on to some new
I'm
music.
you're
For
gonna
the weight
sit
of my
there.
heart. This
You're gonna sit there and listen to it, and less than 1 minute into that song, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it.
I love it.
And hey, I wanted to say one more thing about Syracuse University. I was gonna say earlier, arguably the greatest running back of all time got a scholarship. Most people don't even realize this. Maybe some Browns fans. Arguably the greatest running back of all time had a scholarship for lacrosse at
Exactly.
Syracuse University.
Exactly.
I didn't even know they had lacrosse back
Jim
then, but Jim Brown played
Jim
lacrosse.
Brown was a bad motherfucker. And the fact that I love the fact when he played for the Browns, he got up you know about him getting up slowly. You know about that thing, right? He
Yep.
gets up slowly, so you don't know if he's hurt or not. And then he goes and he sprints and runs and just destroys you. And then quits when he said, you know what?
What,
9
like
years, I'm
9
out.
years? Yeah.
9 years,
Yeah.
I'm
He
out.
still had more to go. You know what's funny? I mean, Jim Brown, I'm trying to find it while I'm talking, but so sports with my son, it's our thing. Once he was 9, we started going to Browns games, and I took him to a Bears game in January, which
Oh, nice.
my ex-wife wasn't a big fan of, but so I have a lot of connections with my business, and my son, like you said, when you got to meet those football players at 13, from 9, my son started meeting a lot of athletes. You know, he got to meet Aaron Rodgers. He got to his bedroom upstairs is full of him and photos with people he's met. But the very first person he ever met, and as I'm trying to find this, I'm probably not going to be able to find it, but we're on the sidelines and my son didn't know who it was, but this old guy is walking real slow towards us. And I'm getting all excited, right? Because it's Jim Brown. He's
Oh,
walking towards
wow.
us. And Jim Brown always had a reputation where he didn't like signing autographs, you know, for adults. He didn't have time for guys like me. But my cute little son right there, you know, he's walking towards us, and my son is, you know, looking all cute and 9 years old. And I said, Mr. Brown, can you sign my son's baseball hat? And he's like, yeah. So then he starts talking to my son. I'm still trying to find this picture because it's so exciting. But he's talking to my son, and my son didn't know who it was. You know, he's starting to get a little scared, I think. But he signs my son's hat, and I said, hey, can I get a picture of you with my son? He he comes down and he gives my son this bear hug from behind. And so I take a few pictures, and then he's talking to my son a little bit more, and I can't find this damn picture, but if I can't find it, I'll just send it to you on Instagram later or something. But so he gives my son this big bear hug, and you know, and he takes a few pictures, and he's walking by, and I shake his hand. I'm like, thanks, sir. I really appreciate this. And my son's like, who's that, Dad? You know, and I'm like, Joey, that's the greatest football player of all time just walked by. And he's like, but he's old. And this guy saw it, and my son's there with his little hat. And this guy says, hey, I'll give you $100 for that hat. My son's like, yeah. I'm like, no. So that hat's in a case in his bedroom. But
Oh,
the first
fantastic.
person he ever met was
Wow.
the greatest football player of
How you
all
gonna, how you
time.
gonna start off like that though? Everything's downhill from there.
Oh, I know, you know, but he's gotten like I said, he got to meet Aaron Rodgers. We
That's
went up to
awesome.
Green Bay, and we had a friend that was a fullback on the Packers, and so he gave us his family pass. And my kid got you can't see it, but in the background there's a Packers helmet over there, and all the teams signed it
Oh,
for him. And
fantastic. So
oh yeah,
who do you think's gonna win this year? Who you got? What do you think? You play fantasy football too?
I do. Yeah. Uh uh all right, so I got to go with my Browns. I got to be
Okay.
a homer. I mean, our offensive line is amazing. Our defense is amazing. The only thing that is a question mark is always the quarterback. I
I
mean,
had Deshaun, you know, I picked him last year as my quarterback.
oh man, you made a mistake.
I was, come on,
You
Deshaun.
should have picked up Joe Flacco.
Right? I was like,
Uh-huh.
come on, Deshaun. I had Deshaun, and I had what's his name from Detroit who got hurt. Oh, Indianapolis. The rookie.
Not Brissett.
No,
No.
the you know the rookie who's doing What's his name?
Yeah,
And he got hurt. And
I
then
can't
Deshaun got
remember.
hurt. So I got all these hurt quarterbacks. So I was scrambling last year
Oh
to
man.
get my quarterback.
You know, it's crazy when DeMar Hamlin, when he went down in that game, my son and I were at the Cavs game, Cleveland Cavaliers, and that was the night it got overshadowed because of DeMar Hamlin. But he and my son and I watched Donovan Mitchell score 71 points. The
Wow.
greatest
Oh
basketball
my
game I
goodness.
have ever seen in person.
Wow.
71 points, and they were guarding him like crazy, and he
Yeah.
probably missed 15 points, but it got overshadowed because obviously what
He
happened to
signed an
Hamlin.
extension, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he
Yeah.
just signed a big one too.
Yeah.
I think 4
He's
years.
woo, he's good, man.
Uh,
The
you
Cavs are
know,
looking good though, man. You guys are young.
Cavs look good. Our bigs need to just bulk up. They need to start drinking some milk or eating some steaks or
Yeah,
something. But
Mobley, right?
yeah, we got Mobley and Allen and
Yeah.
yeah, we love basketball here too.
Yeah. I'm
You
a
know, ever
Knicks fan
all
again.
right. You know,
So
I
we'll
was
see.
at we were courtside for the Cavs Knicks game a couple of years ago during COVID, and we were in this bar, and I hear this voice, this guy sitting next to me, and I'm like, man, that voice sounds familiar, and he's got a mask on, and I'm like, man, so he takes that mask off, and I'm like, oh my god, I normally don't get fanboy when there's celebrities because I don't get impressed like that anymore, like I did when I was younger, but I looked over and I'm like, it's Turtle from Entourage. So yeah, Jerry Ferrera. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god. So then my son and I are sitting in seats 1 and 2 on the side, right across from the Cavs bench, and Jerry Ferrera's underneath the hoop. After when we go back out for the game, and I'm like, I, I don't feel comfortable doing this, but I go over to Jerry Ferrera, and I say, hey, I never do this, but I said, man, I loved you in Lone Survivor. I said, I'm a veteran. I love that story. Marcus Luttrell, I do charity work with him. I love that you were part of telling that story. And I know he thought I was going to think Entourage. I love
Right.
Entourage, but so I meet him, and then I handed him my business card. I'm like, here, if you ever need anything, let me know. And that was
Nice.
it. I got a picture with him. And then the funny thing was the next day, it was at the Knicks game. So he's obviously a big Knicks fan. That's why I
Right.
brought him up. But the next day my kids had a snow day from school, and my son texts me from the rec center. He's like, hey dad, Jerry Ferrera's here. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, he's here playing basketball. I'm like, go play with him. So he went up and he started playing basketball with Jerry Ferrera, and he gets a picture, and Jerry Ferrera's down here, and my son's 6'3".
Oh wow.
Yeah. So and he didn't know who my son doesn't watch. He's 19, doesn't watch movies, doesn't watch any of that stuff.
Oh
So,
wow.
but so he wasn't impressed. But
And they're both in school?
yeah, my daughter wants to be a lawyer in the entertainment industry,
Okay.
and my son is studying sports business. So I think that's a great compliment to me because I raised him with sports, and he
Yeah.
wants to pursue that as a career. He wants to maybe work for the Browns or something.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty proud of both my kids.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Let him live. Let him fly, Joe. Let him fly.
Oh, I know. It's tough. I always say the best part about being a father is watching your kids grow up, and the
Yep.
worst part about being a father is watching your kids grow up. So
Exactly.
the best and the worst.
Yes, indeed.
So, well, listen, Chris, I really appreciate this conversation. I'm not an interviewer. I'm a talker. So I'm so thankful and appreciative you did this for me.
Of course, man. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, talking one of my favorite movies, and I might be overstepping my bounds here, but can I get a little Crazy Eyes Killer before we go?
Yeah, but fuck you, motherfucker. Yeah, I ain't doing that shit. And actually, Upload is coming. I'm the 4th and final season of Upload on Amazon. I'll be in the first episode of it, so we'll be filming in a month.
Awesome.
So that'll be coming up soon. But yeah,
good deal.
Joe, I got to say you my Caucasian motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
I love it, man.
You kunde lie with me, man.
We kunde la. All right, I said it right now.
Yes, indeed.
Awesome, Chris. Well, listen, hey, and tell your sister I said hi.
I will.
And
she's
Cheryl,
doing the Devil Wears Prada in the West End in London right now. So we're going to see her in December 8th. Devil Wears Prada, a musical. Elton John's did a musical. Yeah, so she's on stage.
Oh, yep. That's awesome.
Yes, indeed.
It's actually one of my daughter's favorite movies.
Go out to see him. Take him on a
Eh,
trip to London.
I do want to go out there on November 5th. That's Guy Fawkes Day. That's supposed to be a big party time.
Yes, indeed.
So
Yes, indeed.
that's one of my bucket lists. But I think I want to go to Italy before I want to go to England, though.
Let me know when you're coming.
Yeah, I will, buddy. So, all right, Chris. Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate this. And by the way, this isn't monetized, so I'm not making any money on this. This is just me reaching out to fun people. So this
Awesome.
is fun.
I
So
appreciate it, man.
thanks a lot. I'll send you the link when I get it uploaded.
Fantastic. And I'll send you that crazy ass thing for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
You got it. All right, man.
Talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right, bye.
Bye.